Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inclusively You podcast, a space dedicated to elevate the experiences, narratives, and voices of persons with disabilities. I'm your host, Keon Vaz, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Whether you're a person with a disability, a friend, or a family member looking for understanding, or just an interested listener hoping to learn more, Inclusively You is a place where we will build a sense of community and empowerment while breaking down barriers and celebrating victories. For each episode, we'll bring you powerful interviews with remarkable individuals who are making waves in their respective fields, from advocates to artists, athletes, and entrepreneurs. We'll also explore important topics related to accessibility, inclusivity, and the latest innovations to assistive technology. Our first guest today is certainly a force to be reckoned with. She embodies Matthew 5, verse 16. And for those of you who are Bible scholars, it reads, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." She is a creative who aspires to have a career. I think she's already there though. Who aspires to have a career in media and counseling. Through her blog, she expresses herself through writing, sharing lessons of life and faith. As the host of her podcast, Power Nugget with RTH, she aims to be a voice for persons living with disabilities and chronic illnesses and having conversations to bring awareness to highlight how persons are navigating life despite their challenges, demonstrating her aim of touching lives through cerebral palsy. Ladies and gentlemen and listeners, I present to you Richelle T. Henry.
Good morning, Kayan
Thank you.
and listeners.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us here on the Inclusively You podcast. So, Rochelle, speak to us about your journey living with cerebral palsy and allow our listeners to get a sense of some of the myths that surround the actual condition of cerebral palsy.
All right, so a couple myths surrounding CP, as it is affectionately called, are that it is genetic, that your parents did something in their younger years. Um, so basically, some believe that it's karma, or that your parents has to be born with it.
Mm,
Also, persons believe that all of us have intellectual disabilities. Not all of us do. For some, it is true, but not all of us.
right.
And that basically we don't struggle with mental illness or mental health issues, not illness, mental health issues, and we don't have bad days.
So, Rochelle, talk to us a bit about what were your experiences like attending school? Did you have to educate your peers, and how was it? How were the infrastructures for you in terms of the different institutions? Were there challenges?
Educating persons about my condition started for me in high school because a lot of them weren't sensitized about persons with disability, or they weren't in an environment prior to high school with persons with a disability. So that was not necessarily challenging, but it took a lot of explaining and a lot of moments to understand me, because
Mm.
a lot say that I am feisty. So yeah, so I had to contempt with that and try to explain myself a bit to them. The infrastructure, for the most part, They were flat. For the most part, they were flat. I didn't
Okay.
have to. I didn't have to worry about stairs or whatever. And if I did, there were ramps and stuff to assist,
Okay.
or somebody will assist me where it is probably steep or there's a little step to go down, but not stairs really.
All right. We can go ahead.
Alright. My love for media began at age 7. On summer days when my mommy goes off to work, leaving me with family members, uh, I would lock myself in the room and just scan the radio shows during the days. And then I also love current affairs. So it began there. And then, for example, I knew the Smile Jamaica's morning time would wake me up in the morning. Then I knew that Jenny was starting her shift at 5 on 8 to 9. And so I would schedule my schedule around there. And then whenever the current affairs comes on at, I think it was 10 to 1 at that time, or 10 to 2, I would listen while I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it started. And then I tried to run away from it, but I could not. And this is where you know that God is really calling you to do something, because the urge became stronger when I was in high school. I remember one specific time when I was in English class, and we were given an activity to sing on present something on summarizing, and my teacher gave us the assignment. Everybody found the group and everything, and I was alone. Not because everybody was trying to avoid me or anything. My classmates and I, we had a really good relationship. And I just found myself saying, all right, I'm going to write a script from the top of my head and present it. And I remember when it was time for me to present, I was the host and I was the guest. And
Multiple roles.
yeah, and I did not realize I was doing it until in midway of my presentation, everybody started to laugh. I asked them why were they laughing, and they said to me, I was switching my voice.
Ah.
So I was the host in one voice, and so they could what they were saying to me at the time. They could differentiate what I was doing, and I was just like, oh, I did not even realize that, because to me, I'm speaking my normal self, and so that's when I said, okay, this this is really where I'm heading. And then after that, everybody was commending me and everything, and I was just like, yeah. And then to make matters even easier, I did humanities. So I did the English language, the English literature, the social studies, all the religious education, all that. So yeah.
All right. So we see that your love for writing scripts and hosting. Talk
Mm-hmm.
to us about creating power nuggets with RTH podcast.
All right. So I remember just randomly one Saturday morning saying to my community on Instagram, on my personal page, so like friends and family, do you guys want a podcast? And nobody answered me at the time. And I said, okay, then probably not. But I remember in 2021, the urge became stronger. Like everywhere I turned, I saw someone starting a podcast, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this cannot be real." And then I ended up programming a profile and those stuff, right? So I was just like, I want to have conversations because most of these programs were people talking about how they were successful in their fields, yes, but they are mostly able-bodied. And I was just like, I wonder how the persons with disabilities were coping, how are they navigating life? I mean, they're doing amazing stuff. And so I said, I did not say I'm going to start it at the time. I said I wanted to have conversations, and then God drew me into the direction of starting to listening podcasts more often. And then I remember one night just laying in bed, listening to a podcast just before I went to bed, and a voice said to me, "How are you going to step into media and communications and you don't necessarily you don't like your voice?" And I'm just
Mm,
like, hmm, that's
mm,
the drift. And so I, the voice said to me, "Do it, period." And I just remember just getting up the following morning and I searched how to start a podcast and I downloaded the app immediately. I was scrolling through the app just to see the different features and everything. And I said, all right, this seems like something I can do. I did not have the time, I did not have a plan. And I said, I'm giving this to you, God, because I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah, yeah.
And I said to I I did not say to anybody at the time. I just did it in silence in my room. I had my phone, I had my phone recorder, and I had earphone at the time, and not the headphones, but the earphones that come with the phone generally. And I remember just sitting the following Sunday, and I just started to speak. And I said, okay, this can be like the introduction, the trailer. And yeah, I started. Everybody did not know at the time. Nobody. I think I announced the following day, and yeah, that's how Corona gets started. It's basically a spacewalk. Like
Mhm.
just just repeating that to you now, I
Yeah,
realize it's really a walk in obedience.
yeah.
It's really a walk in obedience.
Wow. And, I realized just from conversations with you, Richelle, that
Mm.
you are a woman of faith. Can you share with me as it relates to what those private moments, those conversations you had with God, and just how your faith has given you strength over the years?
Ah, 16 years. I became I was baptized at age 8. No one forced me or anything. I just remember being in church and it's like one I just zoned out. I did not know I did not know what I was doing at the time. I zoned out and I just really hear the pastor say, "Is there anybody who wants to give their life to God?" And I just held up my hand and that was it. At age 8. Then when I realized that I was doing it, I said, okay, I'm not backing down. So I'm going in full force. And 16 years of the journey, it still feels like babysit. Um, but private conversations with God, I have them daily about friendship. Right now, my prayers are about my friends.
Mm.
So I have them about friendship. I have them about academics because that's not as straight as I want it to be right now. So I have them about academics. I have them about my creativity. So wherever I want or wherever I want the podcast to go or my blog to go, I would say, where are you leading me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And the responses come for me. They seem to come from just having conversations with people. For instance, I remember in 2018, I was scrolling on Instagram and somebody was talking about friendship. And I said, God, I want friends. Not that I did not have friends, but I wanted a core circle of people who I can lean on, they can lean on me. I wanted people. And that because I was going through 3 years of a friendship breakup at the time, and that felt like nobody was there for me except family. Of course, family is going to be there, but I wanted other people, and that took me some time. And in 2021, like all my friends, I usually say that social media. Looking back at it now and looking at my friend group now, social media gave me my dirt and my friends. So most of my conversations are around not mishandling the relationship, not mishandling their heart, because your heart is delicate.
Yeah.
So my my prayer is basically around um not mishandling the relationship that God has given me, because this is something I've prayed for.
It's
Yeah,
whatever what I'm getting from you, Richelle, is, whatever the circumstances, you still have a heart of gratitude and a heart of thanksgiving.
yeah.
So with that, I just want to know, because you're a big dreamer, uh, what what do the next steps for Richelle look like?
The next, my dreams, hear me. The next step for me looks like finishing my associate and starting my bachelor's. Heavy on my heart is I want to start a foundation for
Mm-hmm.
cerebral palsy, because I recognize that there isn't um support for us like every other group, and I want to start that. I mean, there's a Nation Bank Foundation,
Yes.
of course, but I am not from them, but in general, I'm not seeing the support for persons with disabilities, for persons with CP specifically, and so I want to start that. Um,
Is it that, sorry to cut you, is it that you would like to also be able to have persons from the actual community tap into their creativity? So, using the creative arts to really allow persons to pursue their dreams, like how you're doing now.
yeah,
Okay. Mm.
basically, I believe that there are dreams that people are sitting on.
Mm-hmm.
That is why I'm so grateful for you starting. I mean, stepping up in fear even and
Mm-hmm.
starting this, because I believe that though the space of podcasting may seem saturated now, because I mean it's kind of easy for everybody to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but each podcast is unique in own way, and I just think that people need to start speaking. People need to start stepping out, even in fear. I mean, the help, the resources, the opportunities will come. So I'm looking forward to finishing my associates, possibly starting the foundation, earning some money, and more recognition, more opportunities, and it's wherever God leads.
All right.
I'm leaving room for detours, basically.
All right. I love that. You're leaving room for detours. Listen, it's not a lot of us know how to embrace that, Richelle. Because when we
Mm,
plan, we want to be able or to ensure that what I put on paper, God better make sure say. So we'll put on paper, so it go, but I love that line. I'm
yeah,
leaving.
and if I can pick up from what you just said, when I say I'm leaving room for detours, it will eventually, in some way, shape, or form, come back to what you initially
You want
wanted.
to do.
Mm.
That is powerful. So you know what? This is where we're going to end our conversation for today. However, I'd like for you just to share with our listeners who are tuning in, where can we find you on the social media space?
Social media, you can find me Richelle underscore T underscore Henry on Instagram. That's it. That's the account that I tend to use more regularly. You can find the podcast and all platforms catering to podcasts except YouTube. Uh, on LinkedIn, I'm Richelle Henry. So once you type me in on Google, you possibly I'll pop up.
Yes, and I just want for our listeners to know that, with all the conversations that Rochelle decided to have with God and deciding to step out and just start this journey in creating an online community, amplifying the voices of persons within the disabilities community. In 2021, something spectacular happened with, of course, marketing guru Joel Numdarkum, with the help of Red Stripe. You guys were gifted, I believe, Christoph Phillips, who is a deaf dancer, and
Mhm.
yourself was gifted $50,000 grants and a creative photo shoot. And that's what you were hinting to as it relates to the podcast. Podcasting may be saturated right now, but there is an authentic voice that needs to be heard. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what else is in store for you, Rochelle. And yeah, just keep moving, keep striving. You inspire me, believe it or not.
Uh,
And that little nuggets that you left with me, of course, leaving the door open for detours. You mind if I borrow that? Because I'm going to credit you. um, that's definitely going to be the mindset moving forward. Thank you so much. That was, of course, Richelle Henry joining us. She was our special guest today for the Inclusively You podcast. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast and share with those who would like to just join us on this journey as we amplify the voices of persons living with disabilities. They're not just surviving, they're thriving in their spaces. On behalf of my entire production team, until next time, I am Keon Vaz.